Hello everyone and welcome back to the conservatory. As you can see, I've turned the bike round and the reason for that is we're going to work on the rear brake caliper. But before we do that, there's a couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's subscribed. I really didn't think this little project would get as much interest as it did. So big thank you for that, and yeah, so the pressure's on now to try and keep it going and keep the videos interesting for you. I'd also like to say a big thank you to everyone who commented on Facebook and the various forums I've posted on. Thanks a lot for your comments. I've taken a lot of them on board. I am going to try and get a lapel microphone because I know the sound quality is a bit of an issue. And yeah, there's a couple of suggestions for things that people want to see, so I'm going to try and include that as well. Right, before I go on and do the rear brake caliper, you may remember when we did the video for the front brake calipers, I mentioned that Wamoto had sent me an incorrectly sized piston in the kit. So I sent them a quick photograph explaining what the problem was, and really impressed. I got an email back the following day apologising for the inconvenience and saying that they were going to send out a replacement piston. Sure enough, following day, piston arrived and a prepaid envelope so I could send the incorrect one back. And yeah, that was really good service. I'm really impressed with that. I wasn't expecting them to respond so quickly. But the good news is we've now got two fully rebuilt calipers all ready to go. So before we start, I'm going to move this little workbench out of the way, stick these somewhere safe, and reposition the camera so you can see what we're doing. So here we are in position, and as we did with the front calipers, or as I said on front caliper rebuild, the first thing we want to do is just make sure we can crack open the brake bleed nipple and just close it up, because it is again much easier to do all these things whilst it's attached to the bike. And again, same with the banjo bolt. You can imagine what a pain that would be if you were trying to hold the caliper just in your hand. So there we are, that's that loosened off. And now we can look at removing the caliper from its mount. Obviously it's a lot easier. I've taken the exhaust off, so we've got plenty of room, but normally you can work around it. This little bracket is normally bolted onto the swing arm through a little lug there. Unfortunately, the thread went on this one, so good old cable ties to the rescue. In case you're wondering what this tub is for, so I can put the brake caliper inside it, so that as we're pumping the fluid out and the piston out, anything that comes out is going to get caught by the bowl. So let's take the pads out, put them somewhere safe. Remove the pin, and yeah, we'll be replacing those. The other thing I need to do is just remove the cap from the fluid reservoir tube. We're probably going to need to add a bit more fluid to pump the piston all the way out. You can buy the proper HRC tubes, but this is just a bit of Tygon tube that I got off eBay, held in place, and it's an old brake banjo nut that I've used to seal it off with. So let's get some fluid in. If you've got a standard bike with the standard rear brake reservoir, you won't need to do this because there's plenty of fluid in the tube. The actual tube goes all the way up here and the reservoir is mounted up here, so it shouldn't be such an issue. And now, if we just pump the brake lever, hopefully you can see the piston starting to move. So I'm just going to put that down here and keep pumping until eventually the piston should come out. It may seem a bit wasteful of brake fluid doing this, but really brake fluid is pretty inexpensive and it's certainly a lot easier. And there she goes. To just pump the pistons out than it is to actually try and lever them out with anything. Like the front pistons, you can see there's a bit of pitting on here. There's quite a bit of wear. Yeah, there's some deep pits in here. As with the front calipers, got a whole new piston kit, so new piston, new seals, and everything else you need. Right, let's just keep pumping. Get all the fluid out of the system. And then we'll undo the brake banjo. The caliper to one side, ready for the usual cleaning before we rebuild it. That one put up a bit of a fight, but it just goes to highlight what I was saying about it's easier to undo these things whilst they're on the bike than it is for them rattling around loose. Okay, so that's the caliper off. Let's move back to the bench. Okay, so we've scrubbed everything to within an inch of its life, and it's all come up nice and clean, all ready for the reassembly. So just like the front brake calipers, first thing we're going to do, refit the piston from our little kit of parts here. So we're going to start with the sealing piston, the sealing ring that goes at the bottom. Again, small smear of grease just to get it nicely lubricated. That slides into place. And you really are just making it so that the whole surface is a bit sticky and tacky from the grease. And that's the first one pressed in. Now the second seal, just guide it in, making sure it's not twisted, and then push the piston home. Make sure it just goes in nice and square. So once the piston's in, I'm going to refit the spring. Now you may notice on this spring there's a long part and a short part, so make sure when you put it back in the caliper you get it the right way around. The short part goes away from the piston, and the reason for that is that the pad that sits here is actually held in place by the two little tangs on here, and that pad never actually moves. It stays fixed in place up against those two parts of the caliper. This piston, however, will slide up and down, so you need to make sure it's got the area of the spring that it can slide on. So just watch out for that. And like I said, I'm going to reuse the old pads. There's a fair bit of material left on them, and being a track bike, you generally don't use the rear brake that much. Would help if I put that in the right way around. Okay, there's a small rubber boot that fits in there. Again, make sure you clean out this groove properly. And tiniest little bit of grease just around there, just to help it position. That in. And now this rubber boot that sits in there, so again, just a little bit of grease on here. And then you sort of squeeze it and fold it in on itself. It just slides in, pops out. The fun part comes from trying to get this in and get grease on it. So what I tend to do is put the grease inside the boot. And just smear it around with a screwdriver so that hopefully it will all cover on here. Without it all oozing out the other side. And then I've just pulled the edge open and I'm just going to run the thumbnail around. Seat it so it's free to move backwards and forwards. Give it a turn around just to distribute the grease. For some reason this sprinklet doesn't want to seat. Okay, so that's that done. Finally, just the banjo. Again, I'm just going to put a tiny little, some people put a smear of copper grease on, but anything will work. Don't know what's wrong with me today, I can't seem to hold anything. Then finally I am going to reuse the old banjo bolt, but throw the old copper washers away and use the new ones. And there you have it, one rear caliper, fully rebuilt. So thanks for watching. The next video we're going to talk a little bit about frames and air boxes, and you'll find out why in that one. And then after that, hopefully we're going to move on to doing the airbox. So thanks for watching, hope you're still enjoying the series, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.